Hello everybody, I am Jarrett Ross, the GeneaVlogger, and welcome back to another Professional Genealogist Reacts. On today's video, I'll be reacting to episode 2 of Finding Kamau Bell from CNN and Ancestry. The first episode was really interesting. He took his DNA test, they went over his admixture results, they went over his family tree, focusing on his mom's side and his dad's side. And then they left it at where they had basically researched out a little bit on both sides of his family tree. And from there, they were going to send him, I believe it was to Tennessee and Alabama, to research further on one line of his father's side and one line of his mom's side. One thing that he mentioned was that they were trying to find all 8 of the great-grandparents, whereas right now I think that he had 2. Or at least that was on his dad's side. And then he had also figured out that the one white ancestor that he'd known about had gone by a different name, and they had always thought that he was the slave owner, but then it turns out that he actually wasn't a slave owner. So there's a whole lot of different stuff that they left at the end of the last episode, so a lot to really look forward to in this video. And one thing they showed at the end of the last video was the parents taking DNA tests. So we'll get to see the parents' results, and hopefully they'll kind of go into how that makes it better that they tested the parents and not just Kamau. But before we do jump into the video, please be sure to give this a thumbs up. It really does help me out. Also, be sure to subscribe and click that bell for notifications on future videos. If you want to check out these videos early, I will be posting them early on my Patreon, so become a patron. You help me out, and you get early access and extra access to other content as well. But with all of that said, let's go ahead and just jump right into the video.
This is me and my mom, Janet Cheatham Bell. In this episode, we're going to see what we can find out about her branch of the family tree. And in classic Janet Bell fashion, she's not expecting much.
So I guess episode 3 will be his dad.
Wow.
We'll find out.
Wow. Wow. Hello, Kamau. Hello, Janet. Good to see you again.
Good to see you too.
Welcome to Tennessee. Last time we saw each other, you were telling me about your great-grandfather, John Johnson.
Yes.
We located the land that he used to live on, so we thought we'd take you for a little adventure so that you could see it.
Wow. Wow.
You up for it?
The producers thought the walk would be too tough for my 81-year-old mom. But when they told her they didn't plan for her to do it, she wasn't having any of it.
No, we're just going to do it here. I want to go.
She wants to go. She wants to go.
Yeah.
She's going to tough it out.
Believe me, I will.
She has her own power of attorney. So my great-great-grandfather's land was purchased by the government in the early 1940s.
Honestly, that's something I wouldn't want to pass up either. I've been able to visit my ancestors' land in New Jersey. I have videos of that, actually. Unfortunately, I wasn't quite sure which land was the land that my ancestors owned. I had a general idea. But it's just really cool to just kind of be there and know that, you know, hundreds of years ago, your ancestors were in that same spot and that's where they lived.
This is not exactly the homecoming I was expecting, in more ways than one.
Hold your nose.
Yep.
Wow.
That's okay. It's a family mosquito.
It's a family
So
mosquito.
this is the land that John Johnson had. It is now currently part of Fort Campbell, one of the largest military installations in the country.
It is sort of interesting that the land is owned by the government. Like, it just feels like, of course. People talk about going back to their family plots. They don't, you don't think of it as being on an army base. What do you feel when you're standing here?
Well, it feels like a connection.
I wonder if they had any sort of, layout of the plot of land where the house was, if they could locate all of that, how big the land was. I don't think they specified it. But yeah, I mean, it's still pretty cool to be able to be there where your ancestors lived.
You know, that my mother and her cousins ran around on this ground. It wasn't this overgrown in my head. But I did imagine it to be beautiful, though. Makes me think about her because I think that's when she was happy.
So my mom just said that my grandmother was happiest in Tennessee before she was married with kids. We don't have time to unpack all that. But the land is not all that's still here from this time. Just a 5-minute walk from here is this place, Woodlawn Elizabeth Missionary Baptist Church. Wait, does that say Cheatham? So the pastor's name is C.R. Cheatham, but Cheatham is my mom's dad's last name. But we're supposed to be tracing my mom's roots. Are we related to this dude? What in the royal family is going on?
Okay, Cheatham.
My parents are from these parts.
They're from these parts.
Mm-hmm.
My father comes from Bumper's Mill.
Oh boy, we're related.
So
We're definitely related.
the pastor agreed to take an AncestryDNA test?
Oh, really?
Yes. So he did the whole test,
Yes.
and we're happy to tell you, you guys are all related.
Yeah.
I'm just kidding. We don't have the results
Oh,
back
geez,
yet. So,
But I'm sure it probably
So my
will.
new cousin or uncle or cousin uncle, Pastor Cheatham, wanted to tell us about the church's history.
DNA confirmed it, we're related.
This church has been here
But how?
100 and
How close?
53 years. And you know when the first building was here? Okay.
I know this man.
Wait, what's happening here?
The other guy's a cousin too, isn't he?
You and I have met before, haven't we? Yeah, at Denise's house.
Denise's house?
I met him. As soon as I saw him, I thought, I know him.
At first I thought this was just a part of Ancestry surprises, but nope. My mom knowing this dude was even a surprise to Ancestry. Turns out we're related to this guy too. Another cousin uncle. Now down to the basement. To me, church basements mean funerals and fish.
If you're coming from a small town and you go to the church that your ancestors helped found or were a part of, it's pretty likely that you'll find relatives who are there. So it doesn't, it's not super surprising, but that's really cool. Like that, to just go somewhere and all of a sudden there's cousins popping up out of the woodwork. So
Fish fries, but today it means more family.
These are some of the original members that was here. See, it said Woodlawn Elizabeth Baptist Church, 1909.
And then you look right there.
Oh, James Halyard.
And I'm here.
Wow. Webby Halyard. Oh, so my grandparents were some of the original members. Wow.
so we're in the church that your people worshipped in for many years.
going into this, he actually knows a lot more than most people do about their own families. A lot of people, when they like know about their family history, it's very rare for them to even know their great grandparents. And he was so familiar with their names that he was pointing them out to his mother. And personally, just from all the experience I've had dealing with people who aren't into genealogy and trying to get them to do trees and, sitting down with my friends and being like, hey, well, what about your family? Most of the time when it comes to their great grandparents, they don't know the names at all.
Yes, my mother's church, the home church. I've heard her talk about it many times.
You told us, go looking for John Johnson. And I told you, come on, give me a better name than John Johnson.
Yeah, John Johnson's a terrible name to
But we wanted to
research.
find some things about his family. So let's
Such a common name. The only worst thing could be if it was like John Doe or John Smith.
to tell you the story about one of the older brothers.
Okay.
Okay, hold up, wait a minute. It's time for a family tree, because even I'm confused. The names in the church basement, James and Webby Halyard, those are my mom's grandparents. So my great-great-grandfather, John Johnson, the guy whose land we just saw, he had an older brother named Jacob Johnson.
What we find with Jacob is the record of him enlisting.
That's right. According to this document, in 1864, when Jacob turned 18, he enlisted
That's cool.
to fight for the United States Colored Troops. You know that movie Glory? Well, I'm just gonna assume that Denzel Washington played my great-great-uncle.
We also have this record here, where he had to fill out and answer questions.
About his life. Oh, this is
where was
the
he
stuff for
born?
Ancestry people. It's like, yeah.
For sure.
What was your occupation?
Was a slave
yeah,
doing
that's the
farm
best.
labor.
Wow.
Those types of questionnaires are the best. There's some times where when people are finding their immigrant ancestors arriving, sometimes you'll find that they were questioned or even their relatives were questioned. And when you see a questionnaire, you get such a great glimpse into somebody's life. And as a genealogist and a family historian, that really is the best stuff.
It says, if so, state the names of all former owners, and particularly the name of your owner at the date of your enlistment. L.H. Johnson was my only owner. Oh, that's interesting.
It's remarkable to find a record that will tell us the name of the slave owner.
Yeah.
L.H. Johnson.
Most of the time when it comes to African American genealogy and trying to get past that slavery wall, usually the technique is whatever the last name of the ancestor who was a slave, you look for slave owners in that area with that name. So if you have, an uncommon name, it can be really easy, but if you have a common name like Johnson, you could end up having, 4 or 5 different, slave owners in an area, in a town, name of Johnson, and it's hard to figure out which one was the owner because you rarely ever get the names of the slaves, because mostly you only have the slave register to go off of, or sometimes the will, or will and testament of the slave owner. So having a document where it names the slave owner and it's the last name Johnson, that is like really, really great, because let's see. Hopefully they're able to use that and really get a couple of generations back further, or get a better idea of his life before slavery ended.
And so we know where that name came from.
I was pretty sure where it came from.
I was too.
Not the Yoruba tribe of the Johnsons of Nairobi.
Okay, so this is a slave schedule from 1860. It's listing all of the slaves that he owns on his property.
Is 27 a lot, or is that like...
It's kind of mid-range.
It's like middle class?
Yes.
That's such a crazy way to think of it.
I only have 10. Oh, well, you lower class then.
Now you know where I got my sense of humor from. While we were digging through old records, we thought we'd go outside to check out what else we could find.
James Halyard. Wow.
That's your grandfather?
Yeah, that's Mama's dad.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you've never seen that before?
No, I've never seen that before. I had no idea, but it makes sense that he would be buried here. It all comes together.
Yeah.
Oh, my God.
This is John Johnson?
J.W. Johnson.
Yeah. What do you think when you see that?
I'm shocked because I didn't expect my great-grandfather, who was born into slavery, to have a headstone. So the churches are what kept the records.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because it's funny you were saying earlier, like, you thought black people didn't keep records. Well, because the government wasn't keeping records.
The government wasn't keeping records, but we were.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is actually where you find out who the people were.
Right. For those records, we weren't people. But here we were. It really, really makes you feel good to know how resilient and resourceful they were. Because if I think stuff is hard now, 1855,
Oh, and we're not done just yet. If you remember back in Berkeley, Jennifer presented us with the 8-name challenge.
So how awesome would it be if we could go from 2 names to 8?
That'd be pretty cool.
And of course, Ancestry came through.
Wow.
Despite what my
8.
mom thought, we exceeded her expectations. I can prove it.
wow, 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 wow.
Wow, indeed. Next on Finding Kamau. Some of this, some of this, a whole lot of this.
Really?
All right. Another good episode. I really do enjoy this series. This is from 2018, so I really doubt that they continued doing this. I'll have to look and see if maybe they did some other ones that just aren't on Ancestry's YouTube channel. But this is a really good show. It's great because it's showing the paper trail work that you can do, how you can find records. A big thing for a lot of people is when they do genealogy research just for fun, If they haven't really been that into genealogy, they'll go online, they'll use some free websites, maybe like Family Search, maybe like Fulton History for newspapers, or maybe they find some other sort of sites depending on their ancestry, and they might get somewhat far back, but usually they'll hit that brick wall, and once they do that, they kind of lose their interest in it. And one of the things that they could do, but it's difficult for a lot of people to do, and a lot of people don't really have the interest to really go through with it, is go to their ancestral homes, the towns, go to, if they had a family that was part of a church or synagogue or part of some sort of organization and that still exists. If you go there, you could find all sorts of amazing information about your family or just about the area that can tell you about their lives. So it's great to see that, in this program, they had Kamau going with his mother to visit the church, and then they ran into cousins, and they showed one of the great things about using DNA beyond just the admixtures, which is kind of the big focus on YouTube and a lot of the videos I react to. But you can use it to confirm, is somebody a cousin of yours? And so they showed the pastor who they were like, is he a cousin? And then said, yeah, they confirmed it. Would have been great if they'd gone into a bit more detail, but I'm hoping maybe in the next episode for his father, they go a bit more into the DNA. I know they showed images of his mom and dad doing the DNA test. They didn't show anything about it in this episode, so I'm assuming they'll talk about it in the next episode. I wonder how much detail they'll go into, though. But this is a really great series so far, and I'm hoping I could find some others similar to it that they've done. Well, thank you so much for checking out this video. If you enjoyed, please be sure to give it a thumbs up. You can also click right about here if you'd like to subscribe. It's completely free to do so. You can also follow me on Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram at GeneaVlogger. I'm the GeneaVlogger. See you in my next video.